All right, artists, we are going to start our animation, GIF animation with a Wick editor. So we're going to go in Schoology to quarter 2. You're going to go to the Dancing Squares folder, and in there is a copy of the assignment, and you should see a link to the Wick editor. You're going to click on Wick editor, and it should be opening. If you want to open, we want to open that in a new window. So I clicked on this little square with the arrow and it opens it in a new tab. And it's going to give me the welcome message. It's going to say try it. Now, because I used this previously, it wants to know if it wants to open the last thing I made. I don't. I want to start brand new. So I'm just going to click out of that. And before I do anything, I am going to bookmark it. So I'm going to click on the star and I'm going to save it. I have a folder in my bookmarks for art resources, and I'm going to save it. So you can save it right to your bookmark bar. And I now have a new project ready to go. I am going to come up here to the project. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to change it to say my last name. I'm going to call it Dancing Squares. You should be titling yours with your last name and Dancing Squares. And then I'm going to say apply. Okay, so now I'm ready to start creating. So I'm going to select the onion skinning, and onion skinning allows me to see what was made on the previous square. So this is the very first square. I'm going to leave it blank and I'm going to come to the second square. So you should do the same thing. I'm going to come up to my menu here at the top, and because we are doing dancing squares and you have designed something in your sketchbook with a grid, with colors and sizes and proportions, you're going to be reinterpreting it. Now, this is a completely different media than your paper and colors that you used. So it's going to change. You're basing it on whatever it was you drew on the paper. So I'm going to start by selecting a color. So in my color scheme, I had red, I had purple, blue, and green. And I'm going to start with my purpley pink color. And I'm going to can select anywhere on here to get the color, how dark it is. The further down I go, the darker it gets. Closer to the top, the brighter and lighter. So depending on what color. So take a moment to figure out the color that you want and then select the rectangle, right? Because we're starting with everything being squares. Now, you decide how close to the edge of the paper, your canvas, this is a digital canvas, how close to the edge you want to get. And I might start right up at the very corner. I could give it a little bit of space so that there's a margin or frame. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to draw my first square. Now I can create all of my pinky purple squares at the same time, or I can do a pattern. So if my next square wasn't this color, but is over here, and then I'm going to click on there. And so then I can set up to do that. Now this is going to mean that I'm going to have to go back and forth, because if my next square that I want to do is another pink one, I either have to go back and forth in the colors and changing colors. Now you can see down at the bottom here, it shows me what recent colors I used and selected, so I don't have to totally guess. I can also go up here to cursor and I can select that shape. And then I'm going to use the control button held down with the C to copy, and then control with the V to paste. So my pattern involves a series of these pink squares moving down like this, and then these blue bars following them. So I can now copy and paste this one, and I want to draw that in. Now you'll notice this is not like your Google Slides when you change the shape. My shape is growing on both ends, right? So it's a little bit different. It's going to get bigger on all sides. So I have to sort of think. I could just delete it and start over again. It's up to you. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down and select both of my pink squares, Control C, Control V. So rather than trying to copy over and over and over again, one at a time, I'm now copying two at a time. Now, if I don't like the spacing, Control or Shift and select, and then I can just nudge it over a little bit. And I think this time I'm actually going to just draw the blue bar, and I'm going to hit select, move it over a little. Okay. And I'm going to keep going until I have my whole composition. Once I have my whole composition drawn out, all of the shapes that are going to be involved, then I'm going to move into my next slides. But until I've gotten all my things done, I'm going to keep adding here. You can layer and overlap. So a shape, even though I'm not finished with the pattern over here, I'm going to show you, my shapes over here involve a square that goes with colors that change. So I've chosen that bright color, and now I'm going to come directly down from it, a little bit darker, select rectangle. And I'm just going to keep repeating that so that I have this series of overlapping squares in varying shades of green. Okay. So that is an option. I can also, if my pattern repeats this, I have another one of those. So I could take my cursor select, and if I start outside of the canvas and pull it across so that it gets all the green bars, I don't even have to select all the way around them. Now it's going to copy, select all, copy, and now I have my second set of repeating squares, right? And then I have in my composition, red was my other color. This is sort of a magenta-y red. I kind of like a little bit deeper there. And then I have here, here, here. Now this is going to overlap here, so I can zoom out so that I can see the whole canvas. And then I can finish. Now I am going to have to guess, or I can use my eyedropper tool to select the color. It created a new rectangle for me. I'm going to rotate that rectangle to go the correct direction. And I'm just going to bring it to the size that I want and nudge it until it's in place. It's a little bit wide. And up. Okay, so your first job is to open your new document, title it with your last name, Dancing Squares, and then create the base pattern of your rectangles. Okay, so you should have two. Your first one is blank, And here we can see how the onion skin works. It shows us what is on the next slide, right? And we have our second slide that has our composition on it. Okay, when you've gotten to this point, you are going to hit save. It's going to show you that it's saved. It says down here on my downloads. And then you are going to go to export and export GIF or GIF, however we want to say that. And then I can close that out to get more space. You're going to go to your files and you want to find, oops, let me pull that over. Find where it's saved in the downloads. So I see here two files. One is a Wick file, one is the GIF file. So they should be titled ready to go. Okay. I'm going to go back to the Schoology assignment. And in the Schoology assignment, I'm going to click on the assignment. And in submissions, I'm going to select the submit button and I'm going to submit that current version. So those two slides, a blank slide and the base slide. And I'm going to submit that to the assignment. And then I'm ready to go to the next activity in the next video. I look forward to seeing what you can create in your Dancing Squares animation.